Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast.
What is up, NBA fans out there? My name is Tanner Dotson, the Whiskey Sports Podcast. Join with me is Scott Cobe, SJ Cobe 1 of Let's Talk Sports, and JG of the Sports Buffoons. What's up, guys?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Going great. Going great.
Look, guys, we had this big event here in Kansas City this weekend, the NFL Draft. Little did we know the NBA playoffs were still going on despite being at the draft here, and the round 2 has gone underway here with the Nuggets Phoenix series began last night here, and we got some thoughts on that. So make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when we go live. Also, if you are listening to this on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button. Helps us out as a channel here as we go about it. So make sure you do hit that follow button on Spotify. All right, guys. JG, I'll let you kick it out, man. Which series do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, let's start with Phoenix at Denver last night, 125-107. The Nuggets take game 1. And the interesting thing here is that, you know, the Suns, once they made that trade to acquire Kevin Durant, they automatically were boosted up to number 1 in the odds to win a championship. But you see that game last night, Jamal Murray was 34, 5 and 9. Shot 54% from the field. So it's good to see Jamal Murray back at 100% in a playoff setting. Now, his playoff career numbers are 25, 5 and 6. So he generally will give you a little bit more in the playoffs than he does in the regular season. Regular season, he only averages about 17 a game. So he's another one of these guys that you put him in the playoff scenario. He's kind of like Jimmy Butler. He's going to give you a lot more during the playoffs. And I would say in general, for a championship caliber team like the Phoenix Suns, and I think everybody agreed when this tournament first started, they were a championship caliber team. We always say that home court advantage doesn't really matter that much and that a championship caliber team can overcome that. But I think in this series, this is one of those rare occasions where the home court advantage is going to matter. And it's going to matter a lot because you've got that depleted Phoenix Suns roster, but you also have that depleted Suns roster. They're going to be getting gassed in all these road games playing up in the altitude. So home court advantage is going to play a big, big role in this series. I do believe it's going to go 7 games. But I do believe the Nuggets are going to win just because Nuggets are going to give you a lot more off of their bench. They're also going to give you a lot more defensively because of that depth. So you got guys like, you know, Michael Porter Jr., KCP. They didn't even really give you that much offensively in that game 1, but it was still a blowout. So you are going to have games where guys like that, they're going to score more. So Michael Porter Jr., he's going to give you a couple games where he scores a lot more. KCP is going to score a lot more. But if you're the Denver Nuggets, I'm feeling pretty good after game 1 because, again, those guys didn't do much on offense, and it was still a blowout. They've also got depth defensively with Bruce Brown, Christian Brown. Again, those guys are always going to show up on the defensive side of the floor. That's going to cause a lot of problems for basically anyone on the Suns, not named Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. But the Suns bench, what do we get? We got 3 points, a whopping 3 points from Torrey Craig. You're not going to win the series doing that, guys. It's just not going to happen. And then on the other side, Aaron Gordon had a great game, 9 of 13 from the field, 23 points. Obviously, Aaron Gordon is not going to do that every single game. But Durant and Booker, man, what do they got to do, guys? They got to give you what? They got to average 70, 75 a game between those two?
Can Booker rise up maybe 3 inches, 4 inches, gain like, you know, another 100 pounds? Same with Durant, maybe look like LeBron for this series, to somebody to stop Joker because DeAndre Ayton is not going to stop Joker. Just like last year, he couldn't even stop Luka last year. So let alone he's not going to stop Joker.
Yeah, I mean, Ayton had 14 points, 7 rebounds, 7 of 11 shooting, but it was a very quiet 14 points, number one. And number two, I agree. I think Booker and Durant are going to have to average 70 points a game for the Suns to advance in this series, because I don't see Chris Paul doing it. And Ayton, yeah, he's probably going to score mid-double digits each game. Yeah, probably going to do that. But Denver, I mean, they only played 7 consistent guys last night. Everybody else got off the bench, got like 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. But still, the starting 5 is insanely good for Denver. And Phoenix is going to have have a great series. And the other point I'll make is Durant, yeah, he had 29 and 14, but he turned the ball over 7 times. And that's no good. It's no good. Can't do it. So
yeah, and the thing about Durant too is, like, we always kind of think of him as being a basketball god because of what he was able to do when he was in Brooklyn against the Bucks that year. He was almost able to beat the Bucks by himself.
Right.
Yeah, you can do that then, but you're not going to do that, with playing in the high altitude in that series. You're just going to be gassed.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, it to me, I'm glad you brought up Ayton, Scott, because DeAndre Ayton he's the guy that must step up. I don't believe that he will.
No.
I have there's no reason for me to believe that he's going to give you any more than he's given in that game one, honestly.
Right.
But if you were going to have a chance to possibly steal a game on the road or possibly win this series, you'd have to have, I would say, at least a minimum of 2 games where DeAndre Ayton at least shows up and gets you 25 points offensively, maybe 25 and 11, 25 and 12. And he might do that once, but I'm not convinced. He hasn't shown me anything that he's that guy. And you got to remember too, like, these guys are still trying to build chemistry. I mean, that trade happened in the middle of the season. And plus you got guys like Cameron Payne's not even in the rotation, guys, because he's not playing at all.
No, he's not.
And so if your best guy that you have, if your number 5 best player only gave you 3 points, which is what happened last night. I mean, even if Ayton shows up in all 3 of the home games, like, they just don't have enough, man. And so for me, again, like, I think it's going 7, but it's going to be a disaster ultimately for Phoenix. And they got to figure out a way to reload that or retool that roster for next year, because they basically gave away gave away all their depth, and they don't have anything left, man.
Yeah,
do it. I mean,
and the thing I would say is this: if you're saying it's going 7, that means Denver's winning all 4 of their home games. If it goes 7, what I'm saying is if Phoenix loses 1 game at home, this could be a 5 game series.
Absolutely,
very quickly. So Phoenix has to win 3 and 4 on their home court for this to go past 5, I think. So,
and I think a lot of that's going to come down to a DeAndre Ayton. Can you be anything remotely close? Can you stop Joker for almost putting up 20 boards on you from last night? Like, if you can keep him down towards that 12 range, 12, 13, I think you stand a better chance. But you can't allow this guy to go almost 24 for 20 in game one, like, let alone. So I think it's going to be really up to Ayton on who for this series to see if he even comes close.
Yeah, he's got to score. I mean, his defense is important, but he's got to score because Chris Paul, he is what he is. So he gave like 11 points and 5 assists, but he only shot 1 of 5 from 3-point land. I don't really want CP3 shooting those shots, particularly on the road when he's an older player. He's going to be gassed. I don't mind him shooting those shots on his home court, but there's no reason for him to have to shoot that many threes because he's just going to brick them the whole series when he's on the road. And that's why I don't really expect anything from Chris Paul, and nobody should expect anything from Chris Paul. He's just there to facilitate, and that's it.
Right.
But yeah, Ayton is the guy, man. I just don't think he's got it in him.
I don't either. I mean, Jokic is going to do a really good job on him. And like we said, Booker and Durant, have to average 70 points a game, and they have to get something from Torrey Craig. They have to get something from, they have to go deep in these Denver Phoenix games up in Denver on the bench. And I don't think Monty Williams has any confidence in that whatsoever. So,
yeah. And here's the other thing too. I mean, if Denver's able to get one of those two games on the road in Phoenix, I could see a scenario where KD and Booker just pack it in and be like, man, we don't have it. I mean, obviously we saw it with KD when he was on Brooklyn. I think it was last year. I mean, they didn't do anything in the playoffs, and so it might be a scenario where they just kind of pack it up and say, okay, let's look toward next year. But they have to get both games in Phoenix, or this thing's going to be a wrap.
There's no doubt. No doubt.
Oh, yeah. So you ready to move on? Are we ready to talk about the big game tonight?
Yeah. Let's we'll move on to the Kings versus Warriors. So the Kings are going to host that game 7 today, and I'm looking at that last game. It was 118-99. A lot of people were shocked that the Kings were able to get that game on the road, especially with De'Aaron Fox presumably not at 100% with that injury that he had earlier in the series. Yeah. But the big story of Game 6 was Malik Monk giving you 28 points and 7 rebounds on 8 of 14 shooting. He was also 3 of 6 from three-point land. I do expect Malik Monk to regress a little bit in this game, and let me tell you why. If I'm Steve Kerr and I'm game planning for this Game 7, Malik Monk, I am not going to allow him to go off. Not going to allow him to go off, because you basically know that De'Aaron Fox, who he had a good game, he didn't have a signature De'Aaron Fox game, but De'Aaron Fox is going to blow up, guys, in this game. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you think he's 100% or not. Fox is going to give you more in this game. I think he only had 26 points in Game 6, and you are not going to stop him, no matter who you pick up. No matter who you throw on him. I think probably what the Warriors will do, they'll just try to give him different looks. They're going to throw a lot of different guys on De'Aaron Fox the whole game. But if I'm Steve Kerr, I am locking down Malik Monk, because he's the guy, especially in a game that's played in Sacramento. If you don't lock him down, if he goes off, this series is over. I mean, it's going to be game, set, match, because Monk absolutely exploded in that last game. And you've got to figure out a way to not let him find a rhythm, because if he doesn't find his rhythm, if he only ends up getting like 8 or 10 or maybe even 12 points, I think the Warriors have a good chance to win this game, even though it's on the road. But I'm telling you right now, if Monk finds a rhythm and if he goes off, and obviously we already know Fox is going to give you 30 at a bare minimum, probably more, this game is going to be over. And so if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm going to let guys like Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, I'm going to let those guys shoot all day long. I don't care. If I have to lose the game because of those guys, hey, I can live with it. But I'm not going to let Malik Monk be the guy that beats me. So I'm basically throwing Andrew Wiggins on him for the full game. Anytime that Malik Monk is in the game, I'm going to throw Wiggins on him 100% of the time, because that's the X factor of that team, and that's the guy that you've got to shut down. And I do believe, it's basically a pick 'em, guys. I think Sacramento's favored by 1. But if I got to make my pick here, I think the Warriors are going to win the game and the series, because it's all about championship pedigree. You can sit there and talk all you want about the fact that, they play like shit on the road. And, I'm not going to sit here and say that can't happen. I mean, that's been their Achilles heel all season long during those regular season games, especially, is just not being able to win games on the road. So, but they've already proven, at least in this series, that they can do that. So, I think the Warriors have a slight edge here, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's a pick 'em, But what are you guys' thoughts? I do have the Warriors winning this game.
Yeah.
So I think you have to basically say Fox is going to score 30, and that's a given. Okay, I agree with you. I think Malik Monk is the X factor for the Kings and the key to this game. However, I will say this: I'm not shocked that Sacramento won Game 6. I am shocked at the way the Warriors played in Game 6 and just pulled a no-show. I think teams like Golden State, who were questioned after the game continuously, how come you guys didn't show up? Jordan Poole had a terrible game. Can you get him back on track? They take that stuff personally. So I'm going to agree with you, JG. I think Golden State wins the game because they're going to be one ticked off team coming into this game because they were questioned about their performance in Game 6. And teams like Golden State do not put two poor performances back to back in the playoffs together. So I think Sacramento's going to have a little bit of difficulty scoring the basketball today in Game 7. So I'm going to pick Golden State, but I am going to say that De'Aaron Fox is going to get his 30. I think that Sabonis is going to score, but I think Malik Monk is going to be like about 17 today because I think Golden State will make it a point to stop him.
It is confirmed, guys. Nick Botkins is alive. He says you picked the Warriors.
Okay,
He's picking the Warriors here too. So there we go. There. Look, it's going to be up to Mr. Fox. He did what he had to last week. He still scored 26, but he did more on the court outside of just scoring a bunch of points. The 11 assists, 3 steals, a block, getting Monk the ball a bunch. That's going to be the key. Can Fox do this again? Can he get to that double-digit assist range? Getting, maybe Sabonis, maybe Murray some of the touches this time. Can he also produce on defense? I think that's where we're going to be looking at is where can Fox distribute outside of just scoring points? Because, with him not being 100%, he's not going to be able to put up his 35, 40. He probably would in this game if he was 100. So that's where I'm looking at. I think Malik Monk is going to be getting his touches. He possibly might hit 30 today. But I'm going against you guys. I'm going Kings win this thing. I think there's too much fire on this young team. I think the Achilles heel finally finishes out Golden State on the road because I thought we would see more consistency first round playoffs on the road from the Warriors. I don't feel we did. So I'm going Kings to win this game today and finish out the Warriors.
And by the way, Nick, I didn't flip. I picked the Warriors to win today. So
he was typing too quick.
Yeah, I know. I know he was.
So Scott, you brought up Sabonis. He was only 3 of 12 in that last game for 7 points, and that's the other reason why I think you have to shut down the X factor Malik Monk is because it's already baked in. You will get more from Sabonis. He's not going to be 3 of 12. He's probably going to get you at least 12 or 15 points. So that's the other reason why I'm going to key in on Malik Monk and totally shut him down because if he gets hot from 3, I'd rather have Sabonis, score a little bit more than to have Malik Monk get hot from 3. And then you also talked about the Warriors just basically pulling a no-show in Game 6, and that's true. But the reason why they were a no-show is because it is so incredibly difficult to go down 0-2 against a team like the Kings and then all of a sudden just pop off 3 wins in a row. People think that is just, it's the Warriors, right? So they can just do it without even trying that hard. That is so incredibly difficult to win 3 games in a row like that. And it takes so much out of you physically, mentally, emotionally, the whole thing that they had to lay an egg in Game 6. I mean, it's incredibly difficult, especially against a quality team. I'm not going to call them an elite team just yet, but against a quality team like the Kings, it's impossible to rattle off 3 games in a row like that without, having it just kind of have some wear and tear on you. So they will show up in this game though. And it's going to be fun to watch. So Tanner, you had the Kings, just to be clear.
Yeah, I have the Kings. Winning
Okay.
tonight.
All right.
The one thing I will say about today's game, the first 5 to 7 minutes, highly important for Golden State to come out and make a statement that they're there to play and they're there to win today. If Sacramento gets up by, say, 5 to 8 points, Golden State's going to have a lot of problems. You know, as long as the Kings are winning this game, that does not bode well for the Warriors. So the Warriors need to come out. They need to establish early. They need to hit some threes. Curry, Thompson, Wiggins needs to get some buckets, early buckets, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I'd say the first 5 to 7 minutes, highly important for the Warriors in this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting there. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Jason, before we kind of finish out here, was there any huge surprises for you in this first round that happened?
Oh, I mean, and you may be talking about the first round of the NBA.
Bugs? Yeah, of the NBA playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me was just like the Clippers just kind of dribbled away, man. Like the most irrelevant team ever. And I think it's kind of disappointing to me because, as you know, I've always been a huge Kawhi Leonard fan. And to see him go down like that, and then also to see, Russell Westbrook just absolutely explode. And, when everybody thought he was a washed up player and he kind of resurfaced as the star player that we know he is. But again, at that point, he was playing by himself for the most part. And I really liked that roster, and they did put up a fight, but that was the biggest surprise for me, because I think that if Kawhi would have played that whole series, I think it would have been a scenario where we would have looked back and seen it as just like, I think they could have beaten Phoenix. There's no doubt in my mind that they could have beaten Phoenix with Kawhi Leonard in much the same way as Kawhi's last year with the Spurs. Remember when they had the Golden State Warriors down by like 30 points or something like that later, like in the middle of the second quarter. And, obviously he got hurt back then. And it's kind of sad that he keeps getting injured over and over again. And we've talked about this before. I think the Clippers just need to cut their losses and blow that thing up, man, because that team just can't stay healthy. But I would say that was my biggest surprise. And I think it surprised a lot of people just on the fact that the Clippers put up a fight right out of the gates. They thought it was just going to be, this will be a sweep or whatever. But they put up a fight, and it would have been a lot more interesting series. And like I said, I think the Clippers would have won that series if Kawhi was healthy.
Yeah, it's interesting there. Scott, what do you got?
So not that the Lakers won, but how relatively easy I found it that they played against Memphis to win those games. I thought Memphis would take – I thought it would be a 7-game series. I thought the Lakers would win, but I thought it would be a 7-game series. And Memphis, just as soon as the comments came out, the Lakers just turned it on and destroyed them. That's number one. Number two is the how much trouble the Celtics had against the Hawks in this series. That I know Trae Young is a superstar and everything. He's very inconsistent. Dejounte Murray for them really stepped up and played well offensively, and I think they found something in him in this series. But I thought it was going to be a 5-game series at most, and I just think the Celtics just had a difficult time with the athleticism of the Atlanta Hawks in that series. So I'm interested to see. Now I know Embiid's out game 1 and maybe out game 2, most likely out the first 2. I'm just interested to see how Philly and Boston start this series off on Monday night. If the Celtics can bury the Sixers in game 1 and game 2, I think this could be a short series. If Sixers get 1 of the first 2, this is going 7. There's no question about it.
So since you brought up the Sixers, I just want to throw out that Shams Charania reported that knee injury of Joel Embiid that he suffered on April 20th is considered to be more serious than a grade 1 LCL sprain. But he's doubtful for game 1, and I was listening to the guys on TNT talk about it. They make it sound like best case scenario is game 5 for him.
I had heard on TV up here in Boston that Embiid might not play in this series at all. You might not see him at all, which means he scored something for sure. If that's the case.
So Scott, does that become a scenario where the Philadelphia 76ers do kind of like they did in the last series, which is play down to the level of their competition because of a lack of respect of a Sixers team without Joel Embiid? Do they start to play down to the level of their competition like they did against Atlanta?
I want to say yes, but I think the Atlanta series woke them up a little bit. So I would say they're going to take Philly very seriously, because all you got to do is watch game 4 against Brooklyn, where they won the game without Embiid. And I think the recipe to their success is in their 3-point shot. Philadelphia's. They need to hit their threes. If they don't hit their threes, they stand no chance against Boston. So what I'm saying is that Tobias Harris is the X factor in this series. If he plays well offensively, Philly's going to be able to probably get 1 or 2 in this series. If Embiid does not play at all. If Tobias Harris disappears, it'll be a four-game sweep or a gentleman's sweep, I think. But if Tobias Harris plays well the whole series, I think Philly could take it to 6. But without Embiid, it's gonna be very, very tough for them to win the series.
Yeah, I'd say all 3 of those guys. I would say Maxey as well as Harden.
Yeah.
I think all three of them have to step up. But to Tyrese Maxey he's kind of the younger player there, and he's going to bring, or he's got the opportunity to bring the most energy of the 3 due to his youth. But yeah, I mean, it's there. I mean, so I think the whole point here would be if you're Philadelphia, you just got to stay afloat and try to get a game. If they can get 1 game, let's say it's 3-1, that would be heading into game 5. And then if they can somehow get Embiid back for game 5, well, then all of a sudden you have a chance. But yeah, I totally agree with you. If you're Boston, man, you got to step on their throats, because you do not. I mean, you have a chance. If you can sweep them, then you might not have to play against Embiid at all.
That's right. And the other thing is, this Eastern Conference is open completely up for Boston right now. If they play to the level that they're capable of, they're going to be in the NBA Finals. And I think we've kind of figured that from the beginning of the playoffs, that they were probably going to be the team to get there. But with Milwaukee out now, Miami, New York is going to just be a physical war of a series that could go 6 or 7 for sure. I think Boston would have the clear advantage to get to the NBA Finals. Win it? I don't know. But get there for sure. So, but I don't want to see New York in the Eastern Conference Finals if I'm a Celtics fan. I just do not want to see them there. They are
that Boston New York rivalry coming.
They have the Celtics number. I think they beat them, swept them this year. So they have Boston's number, and they're a young, athletic team. And I think the Celtics struggle against young, athletic, quick teams. So
I tell you what, if I'm an Eastern Conference team, now that the Bucks are out and now that Joel Embiid is injured, the one team that I do not want to face is Miami. We're getting closer and closer. This used to be a joke when we would talk about a rematch of the bubble championship. That's becoming closer and closer to a potential reality.
Yep.
And I still, to this point, I don't think it's going to happen, but Miami is the team I want no part of if I'm on the other side of the court. I wouldn't want to play Miami.
If I'm Boston or Philly, I want this series to get over quick. Okay. And I want to be well rested going into that and hope that New York and Miami play 6 grueling physical games, because you can get in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. You could probably win that game based on how tired these teams will be coming in. So
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. So, look, tons of great matchups coming into play. Some really surprising ones. You know, Miami Knicks are kind of my interest one, just because they are two teams that are on fire right now. So
It is.
it's exciting stuff, man. So, all right, guys, we're gonna get this scene out of here. Get ready to watch some ball tonight. I'm really excited for this Kings Golden State game. So, can't wait for it. Super excited. Scott, what you got coming up? Anything good?
The collab show's at 5. Obviously,
Oh, yeah,
today.
that's right.
So we got the collab show as the Kings Warriors is going on. So I'm gonna have to have TV on one side and the collab show going on the other side.
This will be my setup again. Big TV, phone. Here we go.
Then I'm off Monday. And the baseball show comes back on Tuesday with myself, Alan, and Jonathan Grishman. And then the morning headline. So I'll be on Let's Talk Sports all over the place. So
Love it. And then JG and I will be back Wednesday night. I'll be back tomorrow night as well. But we got with Mr. Botkins and the Buffoon and Botkins. We'll be back Wednesday night, probably talking about our experience there a little bit with the draft. But we'll be digging into some heavy NBA stuff, I'd imagine, starting next week. So, lots to come, guys. Make sure you hit that bell, subscribe, that like button. And if you're listening on Spotify, hit that follow button so you can keep notifications going for when we drop our shows out. So, everybody, have a fabulous Sunday. We'll be talking to you guys next Saturday. We'll see you guys.